I think they're doing it wrong. And I think we can do better. I would say, even if you're not ready to raise, talk to VCs, man. The best of them will ask you great questions, and that could change your mindset.
It's hard, but you go through it, right? But did you had a mentor who taught you how to tailor your pitches to investors or a specific way to fundraise?
It was Andrew.
While you were building the Assent, there was a deep battle going inside of you. So you were privately in a 5-year battle, addiction and suicidal thoughts stemming from repressed childhood trauma, right? But how did you show up as a leader? People need you behind a closed door. You're still fighting for the life, but still you were running the company.
I think partly because work was an escape for me. I actually loved the people I worked with.
And your turning point came when you started writing what intended to be a suicide letter to your family, and that act of writing became a therapy, and eventually your memoir, Before I Leave You. Can you take us to a specific moment where the letter stopped being an ending and start of a building something new, and what shifted at that moment?
I think, so yeah, I mean,
What does it take to build $1 billion company while privately fighting to your life? What happens when a founder who create a unicorn walks away at the peak, not because he failed, but because he chose something harder than success? And what does it mean to come back to the arena, this time with a mission to solve one of the AI most fundamental problem? Today on Breakout, we're sitting down with Rob, serial entrepreneur, author, mental health advocate, and the founder of Backboard.io. Rob co-founded Assent Compliance and scaled it to 1.4 million in valuation, but behind that boardroom wins was a private war with addiction and trauma. He wrote his way out of the darkness, literally turning a suicide letter into a best-selling memoir. Then he did something almost no one does. He retired to be a dad. Now he's back building the memory layer of AI, the infrastructure that will transform how machine learn, remember, and evolve. This isn't just another tech story. This is about resilience, reinvention, and what it means to build something that matters. So let's break out. Welcome, Rob. Welcome to Breakout Podcast.
Hey, pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me. Wow, I didn't expect all that. You've done your research.
We start from your childhood journey right to the point you have built till now. So you grew up what you called a blue-collar steel town with your single mom, but your grandfather, who owned a chain of hardware stores, right, become a pivotal influence in your life, right? He taught you to save 10% of your gross, and the hard work creates your own luck, right? So looking back at building a unicorn, how much your grandfather lifestyle business philosophy still lives versus the high-stake VC-backed business you operate in?
So I think it's always, right? He really provided the foundation of building a good business. A good business meaning, you're making more than you spend. You're building the good foundations of building a solid business. I think because of that, my first startup, I'll call it a startup, was you classify it now as a lifestyle business, right? Maybe sub 3 million, and I had a small team and we took projects on. We did development for telecom, and it was very much, I was up nights making sure that we have enough money in the account to pay everyone's salary, and then built that business in order to not have to worry about that anymore, and just built a good, solid business. I had no idea what VC was back then. I had no idea what investments was. All I was concerned about is get my ass in the sales chair and close some deals and build some good products. So I think that undercurrent has helped me get to where we were. And that business incubated the early ideas of Assent. And it was the idea, there's my two good friends came up with this idea or this problem set, essentially. And literally I said, okay, we'll build it, you sell it, we'll split it. And that was our shareholders agreement, and a bunch of handshakes. And we built the business. I built that first product in my basement in 12 days. And my business partner sold it to an aerospace company, and no security, no authorization, no encryption, just as is. Luckily, the sales cycle was long, so we're able to build to fit that. But then he kept on selling it again and again. And there was no need for investment. There was no pre-seed, seed, friends and family. There was no round. There was no investment whatsoever. And the three of us built that business profitably for a couple of years. And it wasn't until We recruited, well, it was a friend of one of my business partners, and we brought him in, and he was just, and it was very, very lucky. You know, luck is fuels most of this. He was leaving the current company. He was a venture capitalist himself, and he was the CEO of a tech firm here in Ottawa called Pythian. And he was exiting that and just needed an office. And so he came in and he just quietly sat in meetings and took notes for a good month. And at the end of that month, actually, I think it might have been 3 months. At the end of those 3 months, she's like, okay, well, you need a CEO. And if you want to grow, I think we are going to have to raise some capital. And yeah, I think long-winded answer of saying like, we built the business first. We didn't take investment. And what that allows founders to do is you're able to pick and choose who you work with. We have 5 term sheets right away, and we were like, hey, who's the best suit for us culturally? Our values aligned. What is the next stage after this funding round? Because it's very much a marriage. So yeah, like I think it's a long-winded way of saying I still have my grandfather.
That's such a classic founder origin story. No VC decks, no, just great sales calls and then survival mode. It's wild
Yeah.
how to keeps the lights on mentally ending up into a $1 billion idea, right? So how that in 12 days you convinced that allowed you to move so fast? Like let's build it in 12 days, ship it out, and let's see.
He wanted to build a demo. He's like, I just need a demo just so to show potential clients. He was working in this space, and we just had to solve a big problem, which is hard good manufacturers, like so big Fortune 1000 companies like GE, Boeing, Tesla, like anything you build hard goods with, you had to gather information from their supply chain. And they were taking the opposite approach. They were taking the good and then reverse engineering it to figure what substances and what materials they use to build those products. And he just thought, there's a much better way. We can gather it from supply chain. Email was already a very widely accepted thing, and so were surveys. So the less technical build was the survey engine. The more complex build was the bill of materials, because you have parts that roll into assemblies and then sub-assemblies, and then the parts it was a nightmare. And then you have alternative suppliers for similar parts and pricing and all what have you. And so that's what we built over time.
There's amazing. Like it takes you a lot of time and learning as well. In the meantime, building out the things, trying things out, right? But everything falls into that place where is a right product market fit for the company.
Yeah.
And you started with a bootstrap, right? And then you raised over like 660 million. That's like quite huge round for any company to raise, right?
Well,
And
I mean, it was a series of rounds, right? So the first round was 10 million US, but we were already in the millions and profitable, and we knew how we were going to spend that. And for me, I like to clarify, like I've definitely had a front row to all of this raise, but like I was technically in the audience, right? Like I had Andrew, our CEO, really led it, and then with my partners Matt and John, and we were brought in to present our portion. Not like I obsessed about product, obsessed on the tech, and was very lucky that way. And then like it was like a masterclass over time, and things like how many board seats are they going to ask? What classes of shares are they going to distribute? What that means for voting rights? What pro rata rights mean? What certain warrants are good for both parties? And so learning a lot of that along the way. And then I think like the $10 million round, and then the $100 million round, and then within that 660, I think there was like the private equity round was 350 million. So that's half of it in one go. And like that was Andrew and our CFOs at the time, Russell Frederick, like those two really ran that process and learned a lot about that. And now more recently, Blackstone. So Assent has seen more than I think 1.2 billion in transactions.
That's such a very grounded way to learn the long game. But
yeah,
by sitting from the front row and watching the whole mechanics unfold in the very real time, like it's hard, but you go through it, right? But did you had a mentor who taught you how to tailor your pitches to investors or a specific way to like fundraise?
It was Andrew. Andrew was our Andrew Waitman, so our CEO. He was a VC, and he was a very, very successful VC. I think some of the biggest fund returns and Canadian history, and he loved to teach. He's a teaching CEO. Like, like there's my very first presentation, I flubbed it, and we got off the call, and he kind of turns to me. He's like, "You're pretty nervous." I'm like, "Yeah, I was very nervous," and then like there was other stuff going on in my life, but like I was just like I was very nervous, and along on the way, and he kind of coached me. It's just like, yeah, they're just people like me and you, and like and it go like the pitching goes both ways, which was very empowering, right? The VCs want to invest in a good company, and if you're confident enough to recognize that you have a good company, then you're interviewing them, right? So you're asking their questions, asking them questions. You're asking, what's your background? What's your your win loss? What are you looking for in a portfolio and a founder? Because we're going to be in business together for a very long time. So that was very empowering. And then along the way, I learned how I pitch. And like this current round, I didn't pitch once. I didn't talk to one slide. I decided to flip the script. It's not how I operate. Like I have one of my best friends who's like, he rehearses timing, talk tracks, visuals, very, very, and like he like performs, right? And then for me, I do the work. I create the slides for sure. I do the work. They get all of that information, but they can read. They don't need me to read slides for them. So I'm better off the cuff. And I find not only do I present better, but I learn more when I'm presenting. And if like this round, I met with maybe a couple dozen VCs, all of whom were excellent, asking great questions, and I learned a ton. I would say, even if you're not ready to raise, talk to VCs, man. The best of them will ask you great questions, and that could change your mindset. That can change your approaches. That can change your thinking.
That's very powerful, because I think once you talk to an VC, sometimes you might don't see from their point of view that how they are seeing the market or
Huge.
what will get dominated. So that can give you right way to focus that, okay, if I'm building that is something right for the market or right for the people, what they're looking for, right? So you're learning the game while everything is going on, right? Talking to
Yeah.
PVCs and network with them, learn how to fundraise and everything.
Huge.
So while you were building like the Assent, there was a deep battle going inside of you, right? So you were privately in a like 5-year battle, addiction and suicidal fraud stemming from repressed childhood trauma, right? But how
Yes.
did you show up as a leader? People need you behind a closed door. You're still fighting for the life, but still you were running the company.
I think, partly because work was an escape for me. And I actually loved the people I worked with. So that was like, you can argue that it was one of the things that kept me going. I was, like, it was, I had to get up. We had these leadership meetings, which was Monday at 10 a.m. You have to be there. So if you're out partying during the week, like you have to suck it up. And then eventually just give that part up so you can actually be present on those, at those meetings, and perform. I think I tried my best just to be present and learn along the way. I definitely flubbed things along the way and failed at things along the way. But then I think earlier on, like I was taken aside. I'm like, okay, we have to get some wins under your belt, and I had tremendous support from my team, and we hired a mentor for me who was very energetic and very charismatic and very funny, and brilliant, and got me to just back online. And I think I just but like accepted therapy, which was very powerful for me. I just sort of accepted just getting physically healthy, which was a huge thing. And yeah, just sort of like got my sea legs under me. But yeah, for a while it was touch and go. It wasn't fun, although it might appear to be from the outside. But yeah, and then honestly, once I got refocused, I hit the ground running. I already had a solid team around me. And then, I was able to like really fundamentally change the product to be something incredibly special. And then also had a huge vision. And they're still building the vision to this day, which is fantastic. So yeah. and there's just no shortage of work, right? It's like you just okay, I have to get all this stuff done. I'm growing a product management team from scratch. I'm growing an engineering team. I'm growing a DevOps team. I didn't know what that was, right? And deployment pipelines get really complex when you have 30 engineers on one code base. And yeah, so like I just learned a lot and had to learn it, or the product wouldn't work, or the team wouldn't work, and the company wouldn't work. So
Definitely.
I think the need to be there, the need to be present kind of forced it. And it was I think over time it was a healthy escape. I know people maybe, crap on work for being, too obsessed, but like no, I think it was healthy.
It's wild, like how in the middle of the chaos as well, you met the right people, show up at the right time, right, to
Hmm.
help you out. And your turning point came when you started writing what intended to be a suicide letter to your family, and that act of writing became a therapy, and eventually you memoir Before I Leave You. Can you take us to a specific moment where the letter stopped being an ending and start of a building something new, and what shifted at that moment?
I think so. Yeah, I mean the letter, it really was is also an apology to everyone and making sure that everyone was going to be okay. My ex, my business partners, my family, and just sort of the whole title of the book is the things I need to get done before I leave you. And I was going through with those things, but along the way, my girlfriend at the time, now wife of 12 years, really was just encouraged me just to move on. And I describe it in the book, where we had broken up, but we were still close, and what have you. Like, so I had read Walden, and just wanted to like embody it. I'm like, just want to go somewhere and hide type thing. And I was just like, I need to go there. I just want to drive there. And she's like, can I come? And I said, okay. Uh, we drove down there, and it was like 2 days just driving, and it was fall. It was beautiful. We ended up at this Walden Pond, and there's a place you can go in, and we're just sort of laying there, and I saw something that I didn't appreciate before from the book, which was just immersing yourself in the earth, essentially. Right? I'm in this beautiful world, and said, you know what, I gotta get busy living, as they said, instead of get busy dying. I think that was it was a pivotal moment for me, and for our relationship, with my wife. And, over time, we went back, and I just sort of went back to work with fervor, and kind of like just cleaned up the things I wanted to clean up. I went to Andrew's wedding, actually, the same Andrew we're talking about. And I just said, listen, like, and we weren't even together. She just sort of came with me. I just said, you know what? Like, I'm just done with any of this lifestyle. I just want to be healthy and happy, and asked her to marry me. We kidnapped our parents and siblings, went to Vegas, and got married. And at the same Church of the West where her parents got married 36 years prior. And we did a little ceremony for them, and then for us. And everyone thought we were crazy, obviously. And 12 years and two kids later, we're going strong.
No, no, that's such a like a cinematic moment. Walden
Hmm.
ponds, fair
Yeah.
colors, and quick realization to start living again. So it feels like that awakening must have changed how you see the leadership too, right? So because your leadership philosophy is like manager serves the team and the company need just a cause beyond profit, right? Do you think your personal healing journey has changed you how you lead or how your values have always there, just buried inside the
Yeah.
survival mode?
Everything I do, and it might sound cliche, I just want to have fun. Even like I didn't set out to really build a company, and when I did, I was going to bootstrap. And then, a friend convinced me. It's like, you know what, like, just have fun, and you can meet some great people in the venture capitalist. And so just just do it your way. And that's definitely how I live my life. It's definitely how I model behavior with my daughters. Just everything's pretty light. We're not going to be here forever. None of the stuff that I'm doing is really going to mean anything. And my grandkids aren't going to give a crap about AI memory, I'm sure. But like, so it takes a lot of the pressure off. It's a game, and it's fun to build, right? It's fun to be competitive, right? And that could fuel me.
So true. Because like it's always going on, right? No matter how much you build, there will be always work if you will find it, right? And I love that like treating business like a game is a good thing. So you take the pressure off and you keep enjoying it, right? Unless and until you love the game, you keep playing it.
Yeah, and with our hiring, after we just raised all this money, we get to pick who we work with from a personal standpoint. It's all vibe first. It's all culture first. I'm like, do I actually want to work with this person? Are they going to be fun? Are they going to be thoughtful? Are they going to be curious? Right? Are they going to push me in the right ways? Though, like the technical stuff, we can learn. Like we can definitely learn, but we need, like we talked about before we started recording, right? We just need curious
True.
people. We can learn anything,
Yes.
but how we interact with each other is I think a heavier lift.
No, I love that because and speaking about the long game, like at around 2018, Ascent was at top peak, right? Like the unicorn valuation, you were in the C-suite and you walked away. Whether you called it an upgrade or not a sacrifice, and what clarity have you brought in that moment that most founders don't? Because it's not easy to quit, right? It's hard to decide that, okay, I want to quit and I want to leave that and I want to give myself a little bit of time for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to romanticize it. I'm going to be very honest. Like, yeah, I was nervous as hell. Like, there was no exit at that point. I had taken enough off the table to really live modestly. We couldn't afford the house I was in. I just valued. It was the birth of my first daughter, right? And I was working 85-hour weeks, and I'm just like, I can't be. Why did we work so hard, right? I worked so hard so I can, build something for my family, and that means time and presence for my daughter. So, and so there's definitely no sacrifice. I think it was definitely an upgrade on the personal side. On the professional side, I love small teams, and I had my small team, but the company was 400 or 500 people, and like the red tape was building, the middle management was building, and I was having a lot of difficulty navigating that. I definitely played the founder card as much as humanly possible because I needed to set the direction of specific things in the product that were going to move the business forward versus other things that I wanted to deprioritize, so that I know that it was like a daily daily battle sometimes. So yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, when I exited, I mean, I took 3 months, so I hired someone to replace me, and she's fantastic, and now she's a VP there. So thank goodness I picked someone great. I left and sold all of our belongings and went to Southeast Asia for a year. So we just sort of like sold everything. I think I still had my Tesla back then. I kept my Tesla and put it in storage. And went to Bali, and then explored Indonesia and Thailand and Vietnam and what have you, and just with this little girl. And the Monday after I left on the Friday, my little girl crawled for the first time, and I was there. And that was just like, check, I did the right thing.
There's like such a very honest take, like no exit, no safety net, just conviction and a newborn.
I would figure it out. I'll build something else. We'll figure it out. If I had to get a job, I would have gotten a job. But yeah. And like the exit, the bigger exit happened while we were away, and we're tying in this little bachelor in Thailand, and we're like signing papers. I'm like, okay, I guess we don't have to work anymore. They definitely have to work.
Yeah. Most people call that crazy, but I can call it a clarity. There was a clarity that you take a decision, right?
What a great line. Most people call that crazy, but I call it clarity. I love that.
Yeah. But because like I think you spend almost like 10 months in Southeast Asia, roaming around with your family, writing, and even like doing things which you love to do around agriculture venture, right? For
Mhm.
something who is always wrapped around in a building, what it takes you to stop and you said, okay, now it's the time to come back. Like you said, we have to work again.
Well, I mean, so after that year-long trip, we ended up in Silicon Valley. So I have friends in San Francisco. Nothing energizes you more than and then speaking with the best and brightest in the world mecca of tech. And my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, like we're very close with, and one's at Meta and the other's at Facebook, or the other one's at LinkedIn, and they're at the Rock Face, and they're also like they're just great humans, and just is great to get re-energized, and became an angel investor because I wanted to meet founders. I love meeting and supporting young founders and learning about tech and stuff. And then, I mean, ChatGPT came out, and the color of the sky changed. And what part of what I did, the very first machine learning team at Assent, I built with a couple of friends there, and that we called AI back then, which is funny because it was just OCR and us going yes, no, yes, no, yes, no as a training set. And there was some technology. This TensorFlow came out, and we started building a knowledge set. And it was very exciting back then because, like, oh yeah, we're doing AI, and I think VCs like that as well. But when ChatGPT came out and I started playing with it, it was just like, oh God, like it takes natural language and turns it into structured data. And I know this is correct because I know how that works. And it was just like, and this is ChatGPT 3.5. It's just like, oh my God, I want to build on this. I want to do something. So I think it's the combination of now I have two daughters and they're both school age. And so I'm fully authorized to be a founder again from my wife. And the second is like I really wanted to be a part of AI. Like, you're in university and you write essays, and the professor's like, you write essays and you make arguments to further the conversation. And so that's what I want to do in AI. I just want to be a part of that conversation and further it along. We're building on some exciting new technologies, and maybe someone will build on ours eventually. Well, people are, which is super encouraging and super fun. And so, yeah, like my wife knows how I work, and if I have to go back sometimes to be 60, 70 hours, then so be it. Probably not for months at a time. But that said, like, I know how to do so much more effectively. I don't miss recitals. I don't miss games. I don't miss anything. That's why I'm here. It's I think that was the decision. Is like, the girls are school age now, and I need to build, and I want to model behavior. Right? You can only sit on so many beaches. Boring. Right? Like, I want to build. I want to like go back to the ambition and show them how to fail and how to struggle. And because if you're you're a founder too, man. Like, man, we're masochists when we go back. I actually spoke to Matt, my co-founder of Assent, recently, and he's in it with Millions.co, and he's just like, you're doing it again? I'm like, yeah. Why do we do this? We're crazy. Like, I go, no, we just have to build. We have to do it. But it's going to have a lot of fun doing it.
And I love that the line you said, the best founder license ever you can get from your wife is that kids are in school and you can build again.
Yeah, I'm allowed. Yeah, I am allowed. Yeah. We all have our bosses.
Perfect. So what's fascinating, you didn't chase hype, you went after like an invisible layer, like the memory layer in the LLM. When you realized that LLM forgot everything after in each session, and what clicked you for technically or emotionally that made you say that, okay, this is the foundation I want to spend the next decade on?
Like, I think we came by, honestly. We built some data agents, just chatbots that could talk to like a Snowflake database or MySQL. We did some scraping off the web, and we were able to create some cool agents and give value. And we gave value to friends of ours out of Ohio, and training their company to be on the cutting edge. And that was like incredible value for them. We built that on what we call Assistant API, which is on OpenAI. So for less technical folks, like, OpenAI has like a toolset API that include things like state management, which is control, like it manages the storage and history of your chat threads and custom tools like web search and RAG, the ability to talk to documents. And no other frontier model offers that through an API. So we built that in order to build it much quicker. Great like developer experience because you can get up and running that much quicker. Then Sam Altman said, yeah, we're going to share your data with anyone who asks. And so our client was just like, get us off of OpenAI, please. There's like the state versus federal government, I guess, battle of data sovereignty right now. And so like, okay, so when we look to do that, it was actually almost impossible. We'd have to rewrite all the things that they included, like state management and the RAG and what have you, and the custom tools. And so like what I wanted to build, that layer. It did not include memory. They didn't actually allow that because the frontier model, all of the frontier models, but OpenAI especially at that point, really wanted to retain all the memory for themselves. They use it for RL, and they want to keep you there. It's vendor lock-in. So what we wanted to build was the layer that offers all of those tools independent of the LLM. And so you're talking to, if you're doing the same things you want to do in terms of the business or personal, but you can actually change your AI on the fly. And so you're using ChatGPT and you're using the ability to talk to documents, but there's the new, Gemini 3.0 just came out, which is crazy good. Like I want to use that. It's like, well, I don't want to build all those things or rebuild an API, even if they had it, and then even if I did, I'd be locked into them now. Like, no, let's just go to a routing layer that manages your state and manages all of those tools. And then we wanted to add memory to that layer. And a lot of the current players out there, everything was very new because this is all very new. Have to remind ourselves how early this is. The memory was open source. And so we looked under the hood and in a very un-Canadian-like fashion, we're like, I think they're doing it wrong. And I think we can do better. And so that's what we did. We just and there was new technologies available to us to help us get there, to make sure that latency was never an issue. And the interchangeability of the orchestrating models were a big deal. And so we built it and we started testing it. And that's what happened, I guess, a couple of months ago. We just wanted a baseline, just want to see where we were. And we ran the industry benchmark, the first one, Locomo, and like broke all the records. And it was like, okay, I think we got something. Well, actually, first we thought we did the benchmark wrong. We're like, okay, this can't be right. Like we're in the 90%, 95% in some of the objects accuracy, and we're just getting started. So yeah, we repeated it. We got third party to look at it, and then we're like, holy crap, I think we have something very special. So the layer in between, we were just going to build for fun and just offer it, to anybody. So we are doing that. So you have like over 2,000 different LLMs, and you can put any more on. So like the future, the next generation of models or small language models, if you want to add, you don't have to change any of your code because you're set up already once. And then we anchored that layer on our memory. And you can choose whether or not to use it. You can turn it on or off or read only. But it means that you can still use ChatGPT. But if you want the latest Grok model or you want the latest Gemini model or Claude, you can just start using it and all that memory comes with you. You don't have to retrain it. So you have access to all the models in one place. And so we built this for the builders, but there is a chat component in there. So like anybody can go in and start using it. We kind of built that as a demo. We're also building a chat that we've open sourced that is built on the platform that we're going to launch in a few weeks. And so anybody can just build their own chat and have access to all of those features.
No, that's such a classic founder moment. Did you have realized that easy API shortcut actually exposes like a massive structural flaws in the chat GPTs, right? So you ended up building the things like everyone else, like depending on different LLMs, what they have built on, then train the same data on the other LLMs for their data, right? So Backboard recently hit like 90.1% accuracy on the Locomo, which like you have told about like memory benchmark, while other were stuck in like 60s or 70s. For non-technical folks, why does that number matters, and what is the key technical insight that you think that your team can blow past anyone else?
I think why it's important is twofold. One, if you're going to be using it internally, you want to make sure that your memory is accurate, really, and really forcing the LLM to not hallucinate, to say I don't know when it doesn't know, but really making sure that in context, both in storage and retrieval, that it's accurate and it really understands its context. That's like, I think that's one of the superpowers of the LLMs. It is able to recognize context, but it has to be managed properly. So I think there's that. The second is, if you were going to offer this to your clients, man, you don't want to screw up the memory, right? Like if you maybe have a customer support that, the customer comes back, you want the AI to know that, okay, you know what, we screwed up in the past and we want to be extra nice to them now, or this is the history of the conversation. It's like, well, you know what, we brought this up in the past and this is how we've, given a solution then, and let's work on that. So I think if you're going to offer something like that to your clients, you want to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. There are other benchmarks that we're now going to be breaking those records as well. And Locomo, we're going to break our own record very soon. So we're excited to announce that one. And we're not doing it. We're actually getting third-party analysis to do it. So it's the nature of being an API company means anybody can repeat it at any time. And, we have billions of tokens of proof that people have done it. They go in and double check. And we've given free credits to some orgs to actually conduct the benchmark on their own to verify. And it's fantastic that way.
That's quite huge, because I think accuracy is trust in this AI, right? The more accurate it is, the more people can trust it. Not just the performance side, but you have made a bold call to stay model agnostic, like supporting over 2,000 plus models with a giant who wants their own stake, like Microsoft, Google, or OpenAI, right? So what's the real risk of being suicidal in this world? Like, how do you stay defensible if OpenAI or Google decide to build their own native memory layer?
Well, they still wouldn't let it be portable. At least I don't believe so. And I know who's built the Anthropic memory. He's a friend of mine, and they don't want to give that. They don't want to share that information. So it behooves them to keep that internally. And so that's one thing. I think that's pretty much it. Like the foundation models won't I think we would be more concerned with, like, I thought Azure might offer the same thing, but they backed OpenAI and they wouldn't have access to it. So like if they built it, they would, I suppose. And AWS, but AWS is now building their own foundation model as well. We also have a really close working relationship with AWS. So I think that might play out in different ways. Yeah, I think as long as we're building something independent of any frontier model or, vector or any particular technology, I think we'll be okay. And like we build a modular way, so that's one of the things that I don't talk about enough, is that every layer of our AI stack is configurable, and so the value propositions for engineers and for enterprise is like you're up and running in minutes, versus building what I described that would take months, right? So like I need state, so I need to go to this particular line chain and read all their documents, and how does this affect my data governance, and how does this affect my security, and then I have to go to memory, and whether I go to like an open source, how's that going to affect my data governance, and how do they interact? And I need a vector DB, and there's many out there. So like I think that the nature of that allows us to have a million plus possible configurations, and we're about to announce a tool that is going to help you decide what those configurations are going to be best suited for your use case. And that's going to be free, that we're going to be pushing out in the next couple of months. With the first version's out in alpha, very, very excited about that. So this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly.
No, that's quite good. Like we will be releasing podcast in 2 weeks, so people can know about that already. What's been launched, they can try it out, right? And that's where no one is giving data as a moat to the company, like what you said. Like that's why the Google or Anthropic or people, they don't build their own thing, or even if they build it, they won't give the data as a moat to other people, right? So what's your mission that goes beyond portability? Like it's about transforming the AIs from a stateless tool into a stateful, intelligent partner. Or 5 years from now, where do you see like Backboard, how it succeed, and what the world will look like will succeed become possibility for business developers or everyday people, where finally the AI will be remembering the things better.
Well, I definitely want to be the platform of choice for engineers, right? I like, how they say a lot of apps are just ChatGPT wrappers. I want of all the apps to be backboard wrappers. I think in terms of memory, I think the baseline should be 100% accuracy, and I think we should be striving for 120% accuracy, right? I think it should be extensible. I think that when you store a memory, that memory should be enriched in that specific topic context, user context, life context, world context, what have you. And then when you look at retrieving that memory, all of those things have changed, right? So thinking like a year later, there's definitely a world context have changed. The topics in which you're retrieving it is different, and the user life's context or profession context has changed. So we should be enriching that upon retrieval. So I think that not only should it be 100% accurate to the content, but you should be providing a much more enriched experience and information around those facts. So why is that important? Like I think, and I read a lot. You probably see that I post a lot on LinkedIn. I post everything I read every week in the very, Ray Kurzweilian world. I think it is our second mind. And I don't believe that digital memory should forget. I think the metaphor of the human mind on AI memory is false. It doesn't go anywhere. The human mind is very different. We operate very differently. We passively curate information when we go to sleep, right? We forget the boring guy we met, but remember things like maybe don't approach a tiger, right? So like we only save what we need. And if we bump into that guy, that boring guy, we need to retrieve his name. We make it up, right? Because we deleted that information. We hallucinate. That should never exist in the digital world, right? Like we have the information, and it gets, the challenges is how do we semantically search that? But like that's what we're solving, and so let's always get that boring guy's name. But you know what? This is the context I met him with. Maybe I was having a bad day. Maybe like this guy has, we can be of value, right? And maybe it's this person, even though he was boring, maybe there's value there in knowing him.
True. I like it that the memory that doesn't just recall, but that evolves with you, like the way you all met it, or people you have growth with, like how you think the thing is, right? Because you have also announced plan for infinite and anonymized memory by 2027, right? At some point, who has been open about the privacy and personal boundaries? What are the ethical guardrails we need as we build the AI with the perfect long-term memory? Because that will be a chain of all the things what you've done, like a long-term memory. So it need to be necessary step for the ethical guardrails.
Yeah, I mean, it's evolving because it's happening so fast. I think it's evolving quickly. Like, like with Assent, we had Fortune 1000 companies. And so our security and privacy audits were a nightmare. It was, and I was doing it. We were doing it manually with paper and an auditor walking around and 3 other people. And then we go through all of those. And I did that for a decade. And then all of a sudden ChatGPT came out and people are just adding all of their company trade secrets into this chatbot that goes to this company in the US. It's like what happened to data governance, right? Like what happened to data security? And so I think it's evolved quickly. I think I have that lens, right? And if we're going to build company memory and people's memory, we have to be very thoughtful about how we store it, what it looks like in transit, and that could be regionally, right? Does it stay on Canadian soil? And when you go to the EU, we have the GDPR to considerations and privacy considerations that they don't have here. I think we built with the best in mind. Like, Backboard is like brand new. We incorporated in April. We're already SOC 2 compliant, and we're going to the next stage, the 27001 with the ISO stuff. We're going to go with GDPR. We're going to do all the things. And to a lot of people, it's a tax and it's a pain in the ass. But like, it's legitimate. You you do these things, you make sure your laptop's, you make sure you're auditing, you make sure you're doing your penetration tests, you make sure you're monitoring like all of your systems. Like it's good hygiene, as a baseline. And then further that to how we're storing people's memories and how we're accessing it, it has to be pretty robust. I think the ethics, I know it's almost like philosophical, right? Like we are going to be introducing layers of anonymization to go into these models, because like once it goes to the models, it's gone. Like it's in there, right? So um, they say nothing is trained on through the API specifically. I don't know, what the wording is there. All right, like I definitely go with a degree of skepticism. That said, like the open source models will be truncated and not allowed to talk to the outside, and we can train all of those things. So yeah, privacy, security are going to be a huge deal for us, because we're dealing with people's data, personal data potentially.
Yeah, that's such a sharp point of view, and yeah, that's how the thing is. You lived in the paper audits are, so you know exactly what are at stakes, right? But you still wake up at 5 a.m. every day, doing your general, meditate, lift. How much that discipline fuel your ability, and what happens if the routine breaks?
Yeah, I think it's all a part of it. I still get up very early. It's kind of like my only time alone before the chaos ensues. And yeah, I'm up. Yeah, it's the reading, the meditation, the training. Yeah, making my daughter's lunches, making my daughter's breakfasts, and mornings is my time. It's my energy, and then I'm pretty useless at night, so my wife kind of leads that part. So
That's
like I kind of lead the morning, and she leads the evening. She's kind of a night owl, and so yeah, I think that it always informs how we go. Like, I think being physically sound and being physically healthy helps the rest. Also, I'm always, biohacking here and there. I'm newly obsessed with creatine for the brain, which is like 3 or 4 times what I used to have, and I find it much better. I also love caffeine
perfect. Perfect. That's the
as I
right.
sip on my Starbucks.
That's
This
the teamwork.
podcast brought to you by, no, sorry.
Soon there will be a Starbucks team as well on the podcast. So that's the teamwork right there, what you talked about, right? The CEO of morning, we met the CEO of night so they can divide the work,
Yes,
right?
yes, exactly. Yeah,
So you've been
yeah.
through the extremes, building $1 billion companies, rebuilding yourself, and now building it again. If you could go back and talk to the version of you of running Ascent or why building like privately falling apart, what is that one thing you want to tell the audience, and what's that one thing the founder listening right now might be in that same place?
I think like really let it go. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Some people put on a brave front. Some people come off incredibly confident and cocky, but nobody knows what they're doing. We're all learning, right? Like, and what an opportunity. If you can just like have fun and learn and just be a student, like it changes your narrative, right? Just be present and have fun. Like, yeah, like that I think that's something that I had to learn, where you're nervous about other people perceive you, but they don't give a shit. They have their own stuff going on. No, but they all care. We're all pretty self-centered, and so like just be you, right? Like just own it. I talk a lot about like the imposter syndrome, and it's definitely a thing. I'm like, if you're doing it, you're not an imposter. That's it.
Right.
You're just doing it.
That's it.
You're not an imposter. You're doing it. Like, you haven't succeeded yet. I'm like, you're doing it. Like, that stuff
That's the
comes if
main
you're
thing.
building. Yeah, just do it, man. Just do it.
That's a very grounded truth. Like no one really knows what they're actually doing, right? We all are figuring the things out in our own way, in our own possibilities, with our own expertise, with our own network, right? So one last question after everything, what you have built, sold, written, survived, or overcome, what is something we are most proud of?
I guess I'm the most proud of like just realizing the things that we just talked about, and that's, I guess I would have pride because I had to work for it, and I'm proud that I'm able to share that with my daughters. I'm proud that I can be a good friend, a good husband, a good son, And being a dad is like my favorite thing in the world, right?
True. So true, right? Because Elon Musk also said the most happiest thing you have is to spend time with a child.
The best thing in the world. Yeah, it's the only
Best
reason
thing
we're
in the
here.
world. Yes, true. Thank you so much for breaking out of Twister today. To everyone listening, this is what it's looked like to build something that matters, not just a company, but the life Rob has built. Rob's stories remind us that the success isn't about just the highlight reels we see every day, but it's also about the moments when you choose to show up for yourself, your family, and your mission, even no one is watching. So if you want to learn more about backboard.io and the future of AI memory, head it to backboard.io website. If you want to read Memoir Before I Leave You, you can find it on his website at robimbeault.com. And if its conversation resonates with you, share it with someone who can read it. We break out conventional thinking here. We ask the questions that matter, and we believe the best stories are the ones who dare to be human first. So we need more stories like Rob to share it with the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep baking things out.